Breakfast with KXVU.
Trickstar Radio.
All right then, we are in the building. It's Trickstar Radio this morning. This is Breakfast with KXVU, 7 till 10, Monday till Friday. You know what to do. Right then, we're in the building with Mungo's HiFi. It's been an absolute pleasure so far. Hearing some real kind of nuggets of information and some really, really cool stories as well. So what we're going to be kind of looking at next is we're looking at the kind of releases you've had out. We're looking at the kind of future of releases. We're looking at the labels involved as well. So how many you mentioned there was a couple of labels involved with Mungo's as well. So what are the labels involved with Mungo's?
So our main label is a Scotch Bonnet, and we've had that since 2005, and it basically just came about from basically getting mucked about by labels back in the day, and just thinking, well, let's do it ourselves. We kind of basically have a stab at doing most things ourselves, and we were kind of quite fiercely independent and doing it all ours. We were kind of never got funding, and we just do it and don't rely on anybody, and it's like self-supporting, and self-releasing just seemed like the next natural step for that. So we have our label Scotch Bonnet, which is basically set up initially as just an outlet for our own stuff, and then it's kind of grown into just trying to work with other producers as well as other singers, and then roughly about 2009 we were going to put out some dubstep stuff. I think the first thing we ever put out on Scrub-a-Dub, our second label, our more dubstep label. Well, actually, when we came to a point where we were deciding, do we put this stuff out on Scotch Bonnet? Do we come up with a new name for ourselves? How do we deal with this, where we kind of our mainstay is reggae, but we're quite into dubstep as well. We're quite open to these kind of we're open to UK music basically. So, and that track was initially going to be released on Tempa because it was on the Dubstep All Stars, and I can't remember what happened. I think it was Appleblom who was dealing with it, and I think they reduced the amount of singles they were going to do, so they didn't put it out as a single, just on the compilation. And we thought, we'll just do it ourselves, like we normally do anyway, and started a whole new label. It had the same kind of image, just different titling. So you could see that it was connected, but it was something new. And from that, it's kind of developed into a whole thing, and we were doing Scrub-a-Dub, filming lineups and nights, and it's quite exciting, and it's kind of cool to see how it's gone. And even ourselves, we haven't put a tune out on Scrub-a-Dub ourselves for quite a few years, and there's so many new young artists that it's quite exciting to release. And then we've got another label called Dumbarton Rock, which the concept is well, it's a real vinyl only, so it's a real kind of collector's thing, and it's something that goes for a really authentic sound, unapologetic, just not trying to be. It's solid rub-a-dub tunes is basically what the concept is. They're kind of produced to be really heavy, but they have a real old flavour is the kind of concept for them. I mean,
it's definitely something that I find interesting. Obviously, I tend to work with a couple of labels myself. I tend to do a bit of label work myself. I run a label called South Point, which is very kind of grimy and dubsteppy, and we do tend to venture into more sort of dub stuff every now and then. But the idea of managing 3 labels, all under one kind of bracket, as well as doing the live shows, as well as obviously getting involved with artists and basically being a kind of a functioning machine. How do you find time to balance everything? Because this is something a lot of people tend to struggle with a lot of the time.
It is a lot. I mean, what our strength is primarily is that we're a team of people. So we've all got our different roles within our organisation. I personally do a lot of the label stuff, and it's just it kind of feels a bit it's the day job side of it more. And then the production and gigs and stuff are another part of that.
You say day job, the day job sort of side of things. Obviously, I'm assuming that kind of means admin and filling out of invoices. That's the more sort of officey sort of side of things. Do you think it's important to have that? Because I think, me personally, I find stuff like that gives quite a bit of structure to what could be almost like a creative overload. If you're in a position where you don't have to have all these structural things in place. Do you think it actually kind of helps in the long run to have that more sort of officey structure?
It definitely it's a structure is what it definitely is. how we kind of operate is we basically like we work for ourselves, but we do kind of try and keep it roughly, I wouldn't quite say 9 to 5, but close enough to like a kind of daytime hours through the week, and then, you know, if you're away at the weekends, you wouldn't maybe work on a Monday or Tuesday, whatever. And we've got in Glasgow how we operate is we've got like a big warehouse basically, that was an empty shell that we kitted out and built like rooms within. So there's like 2 recording studios, like a big main office, a second office, decks room, like kitchen, all that, and then there's like a ramp. We built a ramp at the back of it, and you can drive in 2 vans for the sound system. And there's all the stock on the walls and all the distros. So it's kind of like it's quite an operation. We were lucky to find somewhere that kind of fits it all.
I mean, this is amazing to hear, because this is almost like it's almost like the dream scenario. If you are running all these labels, having this kind of like I want to say overarching project, not even just a system. It's like a project more than anything else. It's almost like Sims. Like you kind of like built this thing where you've got the different areas. The vans go in via the back, and it's like designing this like almost like this like stronghold, like the Mungo stronghold. And obviously from having that, it does kind of mean you are able to put out some amazing music as well. Overall with the album, are you happy with how everything went with it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's got a really good response. Like tracks were getting like playlisted on radio. We were like down doing interviews on 1Extra Radio London, playing live for the first time ever on the radio. We don't even really play live, and people like the people that come out to gigs, the response when you see them singing back, like I said before, it's phenomenal. And yeah, because this album as well, like it was slightly more future leaning, I would say, than our previous stuff. And it's not necessarily a change of direction, but just more to the far end of what we do. Like we kind of see kind of this kind of whole sound system culture as kind of quite a broad scene, and like for sure we're mostly rooted in the reggae end of things, but we listen to and enjoy things right across the spectrum, from ska right through to kind of grime, and like, you know, into like I'm like into like really like weightless grime and stuff like that personally as well, and things like that. So all these things have an influence on us, and with the album we didn't want to just fill the formula of what we've done before, this tune. We wanted something that kind of stood out, and when we're picking tunes and rhythms and instrumentals to write, and even the vocals, I think it's really crucial that you don't have 2 tunes on the album that do the same thing. So, you know, every tune has to have its place, its own sound, and to do something for itself. And I think we kind of achieved it quite well with More Fire.
I'd 100% agree. I mean, I listened through it obviously before we did this show. I listened through a few of the tunes on there, and obviously we've heard a few of the singles already, the ones we've already had playlisted here on Trickstar. So it's just really good to actually see it, or how it's all come together, and the fact that you're happy with it as well always makes it more enjoyable to listen to from a kind of listener's perspective. Speaking of music though, we do have a very special track coming up next. Now this one's a track entitled Go Lassie, and it's the Wildflowers mix. Now I'm under the impression it's a very special play of this that we have here today.
Yeah, I think he's one of the first. Well, it's just been released, but we did, like, for this one we don't really do, like, this doesn't get like a radio send out or a promo send out, because it's, you know, we keep it just for like the collectors who kind of spot it and grab it. It's like a limited press. And yeah, this tune, this is a special tune. It's with Cian Finn, and it's a real Celtic connection for us, which is something we, you know, it's where we're from, and it's something that we could quite enjoy. So the actual track is well, it's arguably an old Scottish folk song, although it was adapted in Ireland, and I think Cian will say it's probably Irish, but we will probably say it's Scottish in a kind of slightly playful way. But ultimately, it's a Celtic tune mixed with I can't remember the name of the rhythm. With a kind of a classic rubber-dub rhythm.
Amazing. We're going to jump into this one next. This one is Go Lassie, the Wildflowers mix of this one. We're live in the building with the fantastic Mungo's HiFi. Do not go anywhere. We are live on Breakfast with Kovu. This is Trickstar Radio.
Waking up Brighton.
Breakfast with Cobb Kovu.